Welcome to This Explainer. Tonight, we're looking at a profound macroeconomic transformation. Across the country, there's a silent crisis completely reshaping the American dream. Inflation is up, the traditional pillars of wealth, they're fracturing, and the middle class is under a kind of pressure we just haven't seen in modern history. But beneath all this heavy financial pressure, a brand new economy is rapidly emerging for 2026 and beyond. And it's quietly creating some truly unprecedented opportunities for those of us willing to adapt. How does a family maintain a middle-class life on a stagnant wage? It's arguably the defining economic question of our era. Now, for decades, the formula was universally understood. You go to school, you get a steady job, work for 40 years, and you retire securely. Simple, right? But today, everyday workers are stretching every single dollar just to survive. The whole psychology of the American worker has fundamentally shifted. People aren't really asking, how do I get rich anymore? They're simply asking, how do I stay afloat? Part 1. The middle class squeeze, exploding costs, and fractured dreams. The immediate daily pain of this modern economy is just undeniable. The absolute basics for survival, things like housing, healthcare, higher education, have absolutely surged in cost. Yet our paychecks have completely failed to keep pace. When you look at the data from the Joint Economic Committee, it reveals that median household income, adjusted for inflation, has severely struggled to maintain its purchasing power. Actually, to put it in perspective, real median household income recently fell lower than it was back in 1989. That wipes out an entire decade of economic gains. The purchasing power of the average family is quite literally eroding right before our eyes. And the result? It's a literal hollowing out of the American center. Over the past few decades, the actual share of middle-class households has steadily shrunk. Job growth has become entirely polarized. It's pushing workers into either traditionally low-wage or high-wage occupations. Those workers in the exact middle of the wage spectrum, they've experienced very little or sometimes even negative job growth. Part 2. The Great Decoupling: Productivity versus Compensation. Now, to really grasp why people are working harder than ever, yet feeling poor, we have to look at a monumental shift that kicked off in the 1970s. Historically, if a worker produced more, well, they earned more. But we've experienced what economists call a great decoupling. Labor productivity, fueled massively by technological progress, has skyrocketed by over 60% in recent decades. But here's the catch: worker compensation has essentially flatlined, growing by barely 10%. So working harder just doesn't guarantee higher pay anymore. The massive wealth generated by all that extra productivity has simply flowed elsewhere. So where exactly did that wealth go? Well, U.S. Treasury data paints a remarkably clear picture. There's a steady, undeniable decline in union membership rates since the mid-20th century, and it is mirrored perfectly by the soaring income share of the top 1%. As the legal frameworks protecting workers' rights started to erode, workers simply lost their bargaining power. Corporate profits became a much larger slice of the overall economic pie, driving income inequality to near-record highs and ultimately leaving the middle class entirely behind. Part 3. The American Debt Trap: Living on Borrowed Time. So, with stagnant wages and exploding costs, how exactly has the middle class managed to survive at all? The answer is simple: by attempting to bridge the massive gap with debt. 2 times. Since the 1970s, household debt-to-income ratios have more than doubled. To maintain the illusion of that middle-class standard of living, everyday Americans are borrowing against their own futures, and they're doing it at twice the rate of previous generations. We are witnessing a truly systemic debt squeeze. We're talking credit cards, car loans, crushing student loans, massive mortgages, and now everywhere you look, there are those buy now, pay later apps. America has fundamentally become a country powered entirely by borrowed money. You have people working 2, sometimes 3 jobs. It's somehow falling deeper into the red every single month. The middle class isn't just mysteriously disappearing, it's being suffocated by the exact financial systems that were meant to facilitate the American dream. Part 4. The AI Economy: The 2026 Shift. But here is where our narrative pivots. Because while millions are caught in this debt trap, a brand new class of workers is looking forward. They're preparing for a completely different economy. You see, the old economy rewarded stability, staying at one company, relying comfortably on one paycheck. But the new economy, it exclusively rewards adaptability. The modern worker is transforming into their own personal financial ecosystem. They're leveraging technology to build several smaller streams of income all at the same time, rather than just waiting around on a single employer.
And the primary catalyst accelerating this trend is artificial intelligence. Just consider for a moment what one individual armed with modern AI tools can actually execute today. They can write copy, design stunning graphics, edit film, construct entire web platforms, and completely automate customer support. Even just a few years ago, this required a whole team of employees and some seriously expensive overhead. Today, that barrier to entry is completely evaporated. You have small startups operating with microscopic teams, but with massive efficiency. It's crucial to understand, AI isn't necessarily replacing workers outright. It's replacing the workers who simply refuse to adapt to these new tools.
Part 5. Building New Wealth. Escaping the Squeeze.
So how exactly do these adaptable individuals fight back against the great decoupling? Well, they fundamentally change their relationship with income. They focus intensely on ownership. Now, the wealthy have understood this open secret for decades. Cash flow creates freedom. So they acquire what are called cash flow assets. These are systems or properties that generate recurring income completely independently of your time. They work relentlessly 24/7, even while you sleep. The goal here is profound, yet incredibly simple. You have to build systems that completely divorce your earning potential from the limited hours you have in a single day.
In practice, these assets can take on a whole lot of different forms. You've got traditional rental properties, automated online businesses, vending machine routes, digital platforms, and even software royalties. Today's smart digital entrepreneurs are actively stacking these projects. The worker of the future probably won't have just one boss. Instead, they'll manage 5 distinct income sources, all running in parallel. What they're doing is constructing a digital fortress of multiple income streams. And that is what protects them against inflation, against corporate layoffs, and against sheer economic uncertainty. The AI economy may become one of the biggest wealth opportunities of the century, but only for the people willing to learn. We are truly standing at a historical crossroads. The powerful tools that were once exclusively reserved for giant multinational corporations, they are now freely available to everyday, ordinary people. But actually capitalizing on this enormous shift requires an aggressive, almost uncompromising willingness to learn and to adapt.
We've mapped out the squeeze, we've looked at the debt trap, and we've explored the technological escape route. Make no mistake, the fundamental rules of money are being rewritten right in front of us. So, I want to leave you with a crucial question to consider for your own financial survival. Which income stream do you think has the biggest future in 2026? Thank you for joining me for this explainer.